Okay, perfect. Hello and welcome back to Artist Mindset. I'm your host Martina, and I know it's been a long time since we talked last time. It is my fault. I apologize very much for that, but it's kind of also how life is sometimes, right? Can get very messy very quickly, and on top of all your plans, you just end up getting sick and have no surplus of energy or time to do the things you promised to do. But I think that's alright. That's just what happens sometimes. And at least I had a few vlogs in stock for you, so you could listen to them. Welcome back. It's really nice to see you again. I hope you are excited for this episode as much as I am, and that's because I have finally a condenser microphone at home. It's my own, and a beautiful new interface. Let me show you. Here, right here. Beautiful new interface. My first one ever. Same with the mic, and my voice is back, as you can hear. I still sound a bit like a different person, I think, than myself completely, because this is not how I sound 100%, but at least I can speak, because in the past week, more than a week, 9 days, I didn't have my voice, and it was very difficult sometimes, to say the least, when you're trying to speak and you just can't because no sound is coming out. That's how bad it was in the beginning. But let's get into the episode, shall we? So I can update you on my life and tell you everything that you need to know. Welcome back! It's nice to see you. I wanted to talk about something profound, obviously, because this podcast is meant to inspire you or ground you in some way. But then I've realized, what should I talk about, I feel like an imposter in many ways. Like, who am I here to judge or to say anything? And then I was ruminating a lot on what should I talk about today in today's episode. And one thing actually did come to me, and it's something that I've been sort of confronted with a lot lately. And I don't know how to call it exactly, but it's definitely kind of spending time alone and being bored, and how important that is for us as artists, but also as human beings. I feel like we need time to process our reality and whatever is happening in our life. And it doesn't mean that bad things or difficult things have to be happening for us to take time off to process them, but more so just processing whatever is happening and sort of absorbing it and being able to take something from it, And I think I got this realization after spending a lot of time on the internet and sort of feeling maybe overstimulated, but maybe also kind of bored, if I'm totally honest, because I feel like these algorithms nowadays they're just insane how they're designed. And once you like a video on Instagram about gardening, the next 20 minutes, whatever other video you get recommended is about gardening. And it's just, I don't know, for my brain, I feel like it's very boring. I don't know if you feel the same, but, I want diversity. I want to see something else. I don't want to see a confirmation bias for whatever I'm thinking or doing or seeking out. I want another opinion. I want diversity. Simple as that. And I've kind of missed that. And I also feel like related to that and connected to taking time off and taking time to process things is I feel like certain realizations only come to us when we have time to think about them, which kind of makes sense, right? I mean, it's very obvious, right? Like, duh, of course, if you're gonna think, you're gonna have new realizations, or any realizations for that matter. But I feel like we are living a lot in a world that is very destructive and distracted. And it's sad, but I feel like we can start from ourselves and take time off to process our realities and process our experiences and reflect on them. However actively you want to reflect on them, you can, for example, journal, but you can also just sit and think. Because when was the last time, and please be honest with yourself, when was the last time that you were just sitting and imagining something in your mind, or daydreaming, or just thinking about something without any distractions? Because I feel like there is a lot of time to do that if you don't consume social media, but there is also not a lot of time to do that, especially if you live in like a city that's very busy like Aarhus. And now the spring is coming and all kinds of events are popping up and the FOMO is getting real. I'm gonna talk about that in another episode because that's totally my reality as well. But I think it's very important to also take time for yourself and not feel guilty about it, and not feel guilty about not responding to people immediately. I also was thinking a lot about that, and I have some friends that I know spend a lot of time on their phone, and sometimes I just want to write them something profound, like a message, but I don't want a response. I don't want a response from them right away. You know how like in the old days you would write a letter and then somebody else, it would take time for them to receive it, and then they would have time to read it and process it and respond back, and you wouldn't expect them to respond immediately, right? But I think that's the beauty, that's kind of also giving you something. I think that there is a lot of wisdom in being patient. And I do believe that the older we get, the more patient we are, because it seems as though time is passing much slower, but at the same time kind of fast, right? Because you're like, wow, where did all these years went? At the same time it feels like time is going very slow. But I really think and believe that there is some kind of beauty and value in taking your time, whatever that means for you. If it's to take time in creating something, or if it's to take time in responding to a friend or someone, I think it's important to take your time and process things. And sort of, you know, it's kind of like when you're cooking, and of course now I'm going to be talking about cooking, but I think you can apply it to anything. I truly believe that the right things need their time. Like, you cannot rush a good art the same way you cannot rush a good recipe. Like the other day I saw a picture and it was like a comparison of, you know, when you bake a chicken for 3 hours on 200 degrees or something like that, it's perfect. But, you know, mathematically you could say, oh, let's jack up the degrees, and in that sense let's lower the time that we bake it for. So like, let's say we bake it for 3 or 400 degrees, and then it should be done in 1.5 hours instead, right? But the math is not mathing here, because you're gonna just burn the chicken. And I really, really believe that it's the same with art, and it's the same with whatever process you're going through as an artist. You cannot rush things, and you shouldn't. So don't feel guilty for taking your time, or don't feel pressured like you need to have things done as fast as possible just because the world around you is moving so fast. I really believe that quality doesn't come from quantity, and we all know that, right? So why should you rush your process if it just maybe needs a little more time? And I think we've all been there when the deadline has passed and you just submitted a work, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, I've got it. Oh my god, genius idea, I've got it, I figured it out, this is what it needs. But the deadline passed, and in that moment you realize, wow, I should have just waited. And I know deadlines are deadlines, but I really think that you cannot rush your art and your process, and you shouldn't. And today's world just mostly isn't designed, I think, for slow art. But I really think that quality over quantity is what feels more aligned for us as an artist. I will leave it at that. Those are sort of the immediate realizations or thoughts that I had this week. I hope that it was at least a little bit grounding for you. Maybe you were rushing somewhere, or maybe you felt pressured to rush your artwork. But yeah, I'm back. I'll try to be consistent with my podcast. Maybe I'm gonna have guests. Who knows? I also feel very kind of drawn to interview people again. And I will see you in the next episode. Please comment, like, subscribe. If you enjoyed this episode, I'll be super grateful for any kind of support that you want to give. And I'm looking very much forward to see you in the next episode of Artist Mindset. Bye!